Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswata Deva Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavani Paschatya Desha Tarane Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So this is a short explanation of Bhakti. Because Bhakti is the process we're following, it is important that we understand what Bhakti is. We commonly use the word, but we should have an exact definition. Just as in any philosophy or science or any type of knowledge, we need very exact definitions when we talk about things. And when we don't have exact definitions, then the logic that we use becomes a little bit blurred, and even the goal of what we're doing becomes a little bit blurred. So Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu is one of the major works in the Gaudiya Sampradaya, and its aim is to define Bhakti and to define the goal of Bhakti, which is rasa, and to define and describe rasa. So, and of course, the idea of rasa is there in material philosophy in India. They have Natya Shastra, which is study of arts and dramatics. So they discuss rasa there, but that's material rasa. But in the spiritual world, we also have rasa, and this is explained in detail by Rupa Goswami in this work, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. The word, of course, is mentioned in Taittiriya Upanishad. There it says rasa vaisa, the Lord is rasa. And then he says, the Upanishad says, if you attain rasa, you become blissful. So therefore, bliss and rasa are equated also. So if you want to be blissful, you have to have a rasa. So it's a very important concept in the Gaudiya Sampradaya. In other groups, other sampradayas, Vaishnava sampradayas, they don't talk much about rasa. They just talk, okay, we have devotion to God, etc. But they don't go into depth and analyze rasa as the sampradaya of Lord Chaitanya does. So it's a very important concept for us and a unique contribution to in discussion of bhakti. So this work is a primary work, and we see that Srila Prabhupada also, when he began translating, of course he did Bhagavad Gita, and he had done first canto Srimad Bhagavatam, and then when he was in America, we saw the appearance of Krishna book and Nectar Devotion and Teachings of Lord Chaitanya. So those are like the main books for the first 5 years of the movement. And later on, of course, then the Bhagavatam went further, Chaitanya Charita came out, etc. But he chose this Nectar Devotion, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, because it is one of the primary works. Of course, when we read the work in English, it's maybe a little bit difficult for us to understand the point sometimes, but it's actually very methodically arranged, the whole work. It's actually divided into 4 parts. So we have oceans. We have oceans on the earth. We have the Pacific Ocean, Atlantic Ocean, what other ocean? Indian Ocean, and what Southern Ocean, what do they call it? Antarctica, is that ocean? I don't know what they call that one. So we have a few oceans. So the whole work is Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu is an ocean, and it's got its parts. It's got the eastern section and the whatever. So we have the Purva Vibhag, the first section, like that. We have the next section, southern section. We get the western section. We get the northern section of the ocean, just like oceans in the material world, like this. So, and they have particular topics. So the first section, which the part that we usually study, like in Bhakti Shastra, they study the first section only. That's the Eastern section. This is Bhakti in general, and then discussion of Sadhana Bhakti, Bhav Bhakti, and Prem Bhakti. So it's more of a general introduction to the work, discussing all about Bhakti and its types.
I'm home only.
Then the next section, the southern section, defines rasa. And rasa is divided into 5 ingredients.
No, it's 8.
So these 5 ingredients are discussed.
I'm attending Maharaj class.
Then the western section deals with not just ingredients, but the different types of rasa. So we got Shanta rasa, Dasya rasa, Sakya rasa, Vatsalya rasa, Madhurya rasa, like that. And these are all described. And then the northern section, and of course each rasa is analyzed in terms of its ingredients, the 5 ingredients for each one. And then we have northern section. This deals with the 7 secondary rasas. So most of the work is about rasa, actually. And only this first section, the eastern section, is about bhakti and sadhana bhakti and bhav bhakti, etc. So it's primarily about rasa. But of course, this first part is important because we can only get to rasa if we go through the stages of sadhana first, and then bhava, and then we get to prema, and then we have rasa. So the sadhana is also important. So that's in the eastern section. So to begin the work, of course, with all these Sanskrit works, we get Mangalachara and verses to invoke auspiciousness and to offer respects to acharyas, etc. So this work also starts out like this. This particular verse is very famous because it's also quoted in Chaitanya Charitamrita. And it actually is like a nutshell or a summary of the nectar of devotion. And what it does is the first verse is a glorification of course, it should be a glorification of rasa because the work is Rasamrita Sindhu, ocean of rasa. So it is about rasa, but the very form of rasa is Krishna. So therefore, it's glorification of Krishna, who is all rasas. So the very first line is Akila Rasamrita Murti. Krishna is the very form of all sweet rasas. Why all sweet rasas? Because, of course, and why sweet rasas? Because, as I mentioned, we have rasas in the material world also, but they're not sweet. They end up causing problems to us. So these are eternally spiritual, sweet rasas, and all rasas. Krishna is the very form of all rasas. So we have 5 primary rasas and 7 secondary rasas. That makes 12 rasas. That's Akila rasa. And Krishna is the very form of all of those. So if we take any rasa, Krishna is the embodiment of that rasa. So he's the embodiment of Madhurya rasa and Vatsalya rasa and Sakya rasa, etc. Plus all the secondary rasas like humor. So if you want laughter and humor, Krishna is the very essence of humor and funniness. If we want astonishment, Krishna is the essence of astonishment. If we want bravery, virya, Krishna is the essence of all virya. Like that. So, in this way, the first line itself summarizes the whole work in one sense. If we want to experience rasa, then we should worship Krishna, and we get all rasas. All forms of the Lord are one in one sense. The Bhagavan has many forms, and they're all one Bhagavan. But and they all have to be complete. They should have all rasas, but they don't manifest all the rasas in the same way that Krishna manifests them. So that's why Krishna is the complete form of all rasas. For instance, if we have Vishnu in Vaikuntha, so he's also the form of all rasas in one sense, but there's certain rasas that he does not manifest much. So for the forms of Vishnu, we don't see Vatsalya rasa. He has no mother and father in Vaikuntha. He is the highest person. Nobody else is there that's above him with a stick and chasing him around or whatever. He's supreme. There's no Sakya rasa there. Not manifested. So He is all rasas, but not manifested in that particular form. Same with Nrsimhadev. We don't aspire for Madhurya Rasa with Nrsimhadev. Huh? It looks like impossible. Of course, Lakshmi has Madhurya Rasa with Nrsimhadev, but nobody else does. So all the different forms will manifest some of the rasas, but not completely, and not all of them, in the same way that Krishna does. So he's Akhilam Rasamritamurti. That makes him Swayam Bhagavan. He is the primary form of the Supreme Lord. So the other three lines also describe Krishna in a rather clever way by mentioning different gopis. Of course, they're all different rasas, but Rupa Goswami has chosen to describe Krishna in Madhurya Rasa in this particular verse because it's the highest rasa. So he mentions different gopis: Taraka, Pali, Shama, Lalita, and Radha. And they have different personalities and different relationships with Krishna. So we start out with the most distant relationships. We have Taraka and Pali, who Krishna controls by extending his beauty outwards. So it's a little bit indirect, and he's controlling them. Then we get those who are closer. We get Shama and we get Lalita. So Krishna is embraced by Shama and Lalita, Kalita, Shama, Lalita. And then we get Radha Preya, and she is the dearest of all. So Krishna is described in relation to various gopis. And Vidu, the second to the last word, refers to Krishna. Vidur Jayati. Jayati means he is victorious, or he exists with all excellence eternally. So Krishna, with all these gopis, being the form of all rasas in their highest form, spreading out his beauty everywhere and embracing the gopis and controlling them, he remains ever excellent. That's the basic meaning of the verse. So, of course, the esoteric meaning here is that, of course, Radha is the main person here. And in relation to Krishna and Radha, we have various types of gopis in Madhurya Rasa. So, of course, we also know that the second highest gopi is actually Chandravali. But she's also the enemy because she competes with Radha. So therefore, she's put on the opposite side. She is the Vipaksha, the enemy group. And with her are her group Pali, Padma, Saibhya, etc. And these are well known in the different leelas and described by the Goswamis. These names appear, and they're helping Chandravali meet Krishna, and they're opposing Lalita and Vishaka and arguing with them, things like this. So they're the complete opposite. So they're, in one sense, in comparison to Radha, they are on the opposite side. Radha has her group, her own group, Svapaksha, that is Lalita, Vishaka, and Asasakis, and a whole group of gopis. So they're very close to Radha. So that's there. Then we have friendly groups. They're not in Radha's group, and they have their own leaders, but they help Radha and Krishna meet, and they help defeat Chandravali and her group. So they are friendly groups, like Shamala. Then we have others who are called Tatashta, which is borderline. They're kind of neutral, but actually they help out Chandravali and her group and defeat Radha. So we got all these different groups there. So these are the ones that are mentioned here. But we have Taraka, enemy group, Pali, they're the far groups. Shama is in the middle, helping, and Lalita, Radha's group, and then Radha herself. So different types of gopis, all in Madhurya Rasa. And that the variation also helps to create the variety and flavor of Madhurya Rasa. Okay, so of course there was this word here, Vidu, which means Krishna or Vishnu, Supreme Lord. It also means the moon. Vidu is the moon. So we discussed how words have double meanings and verses have double meanings or whatever. So this is the whole verse has a double meaning, which is obviously put there by Rupa Goswami himself, making two meanings. So it's a glorification of the moon. And then all these words also describe the moon. So Akila Rasamrita Murti, the moon is the form of nectar. So in literature, we see that the moon showers nectar. The moon is the source of rasa. And in Bhagavad Gita, we have this idea of the nectar falling from the moon and creating rasa in plants, etc. So the moon is the source of all rasa, and it spreads out its rays everywhere. Taraka Pali means a group or a pile or whatever. Taraka means stars. So the moon is with spreading its rays over all the stars, etc., like that. Prasrima Ruchi Ruda Taraka Pali. And Kalita Shama Lalita. So this refers to the dark night sky. Shama means darkness, and gentle, Lalita means gentle. And Radha refers to a particular nakshatra. I think it is, what is the nakshatra here? Vishaka nakshatra. Radha refers to Vishaka nakshatra. So, each nakshatra, of course, is there in the sky, but the full moon, when it comes to certain nakshatra, that will define the month. So we have Falgun month with Falgun nakshatra, the full moon is in Falgun nakshatra, etc. Kartika is Kritika nakshatra, Mrigashirsha, Margashirsha month. Then the full moon is in Mrigashirsha nakshatra. So in Vishaka nakshatra, the Vaishak month, that is springtime. So of course springtime is the romance season also. But also the Vishaka nakshatra is very bright. So therefore it is like Radha, who is the brightest of all the nakshatras, etc. Radha is the brightest of all gopis. So and of course the spring season is there, and moon is close to this Vishaka nakshatra, which is very bright, and that creates a certain beauty in that combination of that bright nakshatra with the moon, full moon, and it's in the spring season. So that's the other meaning of this verse. It's a description of the moon in the spring. In Vishaka nakshatra, the sky is dark, and the light of the moon is spreading out over all the sky and covering the stars. So that enhances the idea of Krishna with all the gopis. So in this way, that first verse indicates the Then Rupa Goswami spends a few verses glorifying devotees. And he says that Sanatana Goswami devotees are like makaras in the ocean. So the makara, sometimes we say shark, but that doesn't really, it's not a very romantic word. Makara is a rather mythical fish for us. It's got an elephant trunk and bird feet and a peacock tail and whatever, so it's quite a unique creature, but it's said to be the king of the fish. So it is the ruler of the ocean. So the devotees are the rulers of the ocean of rasa. They are swimming in the ocean very nicely, and because fish swim in the ocean, so the devotees naturally enjoy the water of the ocean of rasa, ocean of rasa, like that. We find this in makara represented in various forms. In India, you'll see these little weird things in Srirangam, makaras or whatever. Krishna has makara earrings, little things like this, the tail, the trunk like this. Flute, I think he is on the edge of his flute, he has a little makara. And even in this is I think from Indonesia, no, Thailand, I guess. Yeah. It also represents the son of Makara. Yeah? So it's also representing love. So anyway, Rupa Goswami also describes how the book will smother the tongues of this Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, will smother the tongues. It will stop the followers of Jnana and Karma from criticizing. So they're like little fires that shoot up in the ocean. The ocean comes and covers them all up, smothers them all like that. Because followers of Jnana will criticize rasa, because for rasa we need a form of the Lord with qualities and pastimes, and the Jnanis say Brahman has no form and qualities at all. So they will criticize, oh, you're imagining something, you know, that the Supreme is Krishna playing a flute and having rasa lila, that's all Maya. So by this work, he hopes to silence the followers of Jnana. Those who are into karma, of course, will take Krishna's pastimes as material. And so we will also try to enjoy like that in the material world. Kodasvarga Loka, we can enjoy like Krishna is enjoying in Vrindavan. So, again, to defeat them, Rupa Goswami just portrays rasa in such a way that it is definitely spiritual, and you cannot imitate it in the material world. So in this way he defeats the karmis. So, now the main verse. This is the key verse of the whole work, because it defines Uttama Bhakti, or pure Bhakti. And every other definition in the work must include this definition. So usually we get a definition and we'll get other definitions, but they should not contradict each other. So this is the main definition. Every other definition will come under this definition. So we'll have definitions of sadhana bhakti. So that definition is definitely there, but it's included within this definition. So we have to combine both of the definitions if we want to do sadhana. We can't just look at sadhana, we have to look at this definition also. Same with bhava and prema. So, very important. Only by doing this type of bhakti, uttama bhakti, you can get to bhava and prema. So you can only realize the nectar of devotion or Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu if you do this type of bhakti. If you do another type of bhakti, no, you don't get the ocean. Don't get to swim in the ocean. Don't become a makara in the ocean. You become something else. So, a very important definition. This is also quoted in the purports of Bhagavatam. Also, it's in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. So, very famous verse. So, Anya Abhalashita Shunya Jnana Karmadi Anavritam Anukulyena Krishnano Silanam Bhakti Uttama. So the last line is the primary part of the definition. What is Uttama Bhakti? Uttama Bhakti, of course, means pure Bhakti or supreme Bhakti, like that. Uttama, of course, means also beyond ignorance. So it's very pure. What is it? Krishna Anusilanam. Anusilanam means cultivating. So cultivating a relationship with Krishna. And how should it be? Favorable. Which means not with hatred, as Kamsa can cultivate a relationship with Krishna and hatred. So that's not bhakti. So it has to be favorable. Something's happening here. It's not working. So anukulyena. Yeah. So that cultivation of Krishna, usually within cultivation of hearing, chanting, or remembering, yes, that is cultivating a relationship with Krishna through different activities. That's called Cheshta Rupa Bhakti. We do various services. But when we get to bhava and prema, then we have what is called the sthayi bhava. We establish a relationship with Krishna, like in Madhurya or Sakya, etc. And it's continuous through all of our activities. So that emotional relationship is also a type of anusilana. But it's not action with body, etc. It's your emotion. So that's called Bhava Rupa Bhakti. But both are classed as Anusilanam, cultivation. However, in Sadhana Bhakti, we don't see this Bhava Rupa Bhakti. It manifests in Bhava stage and then continues in Prema. So when we do sadhana, the Cheshta Rupa Bhakti will be prominent. So we're hearing, chanting, remembering, deity worship, all this is Cheshta Rupa Bhakti. This is a type of Anusilanam. But it's not the only one. So we get to Bhava, we have the Bhava Rupa Bhakti. That doesn't mean that the Cheshta Rupa disappears. No, it also continues. If we still have a body, then we do our service and hearing, chanting, remembering. And we develop a spiritual body, and all that also we're doing activities for Krishna. And the spiritual world, of course, all the devotees are doing services for Krishna. Mother Yasoda is cooking for Krishna and bathing Krishna and decorating Krishna, etc. All this is service. That's Cheshta Rupa. But she also has her Vatsalya Bhava. That's the Bhava Rupa Bhakti. So when we get to Bhava and Prema, we have both types of Anusilanam. And in sadhana, we get primarily the Cheshta Rupa Bhakti. So Krishna Anusilanam. So we may ask, well, so Uttama Bhakti means only for Krishna. And if I worship Vishnu or Rama or Nrsimhadev, then it's not Uttama Bhakti. Answer is no. Krishna here means Krishna plus all the other forms. Because everything is in Krishna anyway. So you can worship any authorized form of the Lord, and you can get Uttama Bhakti if it's favorable. So it doesn't mean Krishna, Krishna and all other forms. In fact, not only Krishna and all the other forms, even the devotees. So you can have service to devotees also included within Krishna Anusilanam. So you serve Hanuman or Prahlad or whatever, it's also pure bhakti. So Krishna, his expansions, or others related to Krishna, that refers to the devotees of Krishna. So of course, in Raganuga Bhakti, then the person Vatsalya Rasa will serve Yasoda. So that's not serving Krishna, but still is bhakti because she's serving Yasoda. Okay. So the other word in the last line is anukulyena, which means favorability. We serve with favorability or pleasing attitude towards Krishna. So that word, of course, favorability, some people will say, well, favorability means it's pleasing to Krishna. That sounds nice because it should be pleasing to Krishna or whatever. However, we do have examples where Krishna may not be pleased. Example is Mother Yasoda taking the milk off the fire and putting Krishna down. Krishna was not pleased. Krishna got very angry. But is it bhakti or not? If Mother Yasoda puts Krishna down, is it bhakti? And Krishna gets angry. So, but then we say, well, if Krishna gets angry, but Mother Yasoda is always doing favorable service for Krishna. So we can't say she's not doing bhakti. And it's true. So whether Krishna is angry or not angry doesn't really matter. If the devotion is there to serve Krishna, then that is bhakti. Doesn't depend on whether Krishna is pleased or not in one sense. On the other hand, we'll see that even if the Lord is angry, like in the case when he kicks the pot and whatever, Mother Yasoda, and the yogurt flows off, that's anger, and it's still bhakti. But also not in all cases, because we'll see that Nrsimhadev is angry at Hiranyakasipu, but that's not bhakti at all. Why? Because Hiranyakasipu has an enemy. He doesn't like Vishnu at all. He doesn't like Nrsimhadev at all. The enemy. So that's not anukulya. So the deciding factor here is not so much is Krishna is pleased or not pleased or angry or not angry, whatever. It is the attitude of the devotee. So the devotees, or the person's attitude is to please Krishna, whether he's angry or not, that's bhakti. So Mother Yasoda's constant aim is to please Krishna, therefore, even if Krishna gets angry, it is bhakti. On the other hand, Hiranyakasipu has no aim of pleasing Krishna at all. And of course, Nrsimhadev is angry and tears him apart. That's not bhakti. So therefore, when we say anukulya, it should be that the devotee has an attitude to please Krishna. Okay, the last line, or the first line, Anya abhileshata shunya jnana karma dinavartam. So this is an expansion of the last line of favorable bhakti. What does it do? It excludes other desires, abhilasa. So anya abhilasa, other desires, or it should be sunya, devoid of other desires. Huh? What would the desires be? Desires other than serving Krishna. So I serve Krishna, but I have a desire to get something material from Krishna. I will serve him, but I expect to get something. Yeah? Or I will serve Krishna to get liberation. Yeah? So that is other desire. So bhakti has to be devoid of that. So it's devoid of all desires for anything except the desire to please Krishna. That's the definition of pure bhakti. And then he adds this, jnana karmadi anavritam. It is not, anavritam means not covered or not obstructed by jnana, karma, etc. He does not say sunya. It's not devoid of it, but not obstructed by it. So this permits you to do actions of jnana or karma, but it should not obstruct the bhakti, the pure bhakti. So in other words, there should be no desire to get material things. Usually karma is for getting material desires. We can do the karma. If we have no desire to get material results, fine. It doesn't obstruct bhakti. You could do them, those karmas. Same with jnana. The normal jnana we do is for liberation, impersonal liberation. But if we're devoid of that desire for liberation, and we're doing angas of jnana like sense control and whatever, or doing yoga or whatever, and it doesn't obstruct the bhakti by having other desires, fine. You could do it. So therefore, along with the process of bhakti, we can do other processes as long as they don't interfere with the purity of the bhakti. So that's why all those words are there. So it's unobstructed by impersonal jnana, materialistic rituals of karma, or other favorable acts. So the desire is to please Krishna. So what happens? Why we have to exclude everything, whatever? As I said, it's with that pure bhakti that we can end up with rasa. In the spiritual world, we can dasya, sakya, vatsalya, madhurya, etc. If we mix jnana, a little bit of jnana with the bhakti, we still have a little desire for liberation or whatever, we end up with shanta rasa. Which is kind of natural because jnana means you want to be very peaceful, don't want any disturbance, etc. So you get shanta rasa in the spiritual world. This is very peaceful. Many of the jnanis, if they look at the pastimes of Krishna, then they will criticize, oh, what is this? Gopis are crying and they're falling on the ground and going to extreme emotional states. What is this? It's useless. We don't want that. We want bliss, which is pure and peaceful. So that influences the bhakti, and you end up with shantarasa instead. If we continue our bhakti and we got a mixture of karma, that is, we still have a desire to get something, enjoyment out of our activities. Of course, by this mixture, eventually we do get purified. But because of that mixture, the bhakti is weaker. And then Krishna looks at those desires and says, okay, I'll give you some of that. So therefore, he gives liberation a little bit in shantarasa. You get a feeling of liberation and peace. And if you do karma with your bhakti, you end up in the spiritual world and you get a very nice place to stay, a very nice house, very nice form, nice powers, etc. So this is salokya, sarti, sarupi. You can get all these things. But you don't have the intensity of rasas. So therefore, that's why pure bhakti gives you the rasas. The other ones, even if it's mixed, you get a good result. You get better than liberation. You get better than Svargaloka or Brahmaloka, but you don't get the same as pure bhakti. That's all. So that's why at the beginning, Rupa Goswami emphasizes this definition of pure bhakti. No other desire, etc. If we get the obstructions there, then we may end up in these two forms. That. So, now we have Uttama Bhakti, that's the main definition. Then we get three sub-definitions, Sadhana Bhakti, Bhav Bhakti, and Prem Bhakti. We can say a continuous growth, like a flower gradually blossoming. So it's not different, but it's just a greater manifestation of beauty in the flower. So it's the same bhakti, but it manifests more and more wonderful qualities as we go on. So each of these types of bhakti will have its own definition also. Sadhana Bhakti has a definition. Actually, in Sadhana Bhakti, we have two types of bhakti, Vaidhi and Raganuga Sadhana. They also have definitions within the main definition of Sadhana Bhakti. Bhav Bhakti has a separate definition to distinguish it from Sadhana Bhakti. And Prem Bhakti has another definition to distinguish it from Bhav Bhakti. So we have definition. But all are under the Uttama Bhakti definition, all pure bhakti. So, in the last part of this first section, in the first chapter actually, first chapter of the first section, of the Eastern section, we have Rupa Goswami describing 6 unique qualities of bhakti. Kleshagni, Subhada, Moksha Laguta Krit, Sudurlabha, Sandrananda, Visheshatma, and Sri Krishna Karshani. We have 6 unique qualities of bhakti. The first is Klesha Gni. Gni means han, which means destroy. So it destroys suffering, Klesha. That's the first. What is Klesha? What is suffering? So it's defined in 3 terms. Avidya, or ignorance, is the root cause, which gives us a ahankara, identification with the material body. Pap bija, which means the seed of sin. Desires, material desires for enjoyment. Then we get sin itself. We commit a sin. And then we get a reaction, which is the suffering, ultimate suffering. So it is, klesha refers not only to the suffering that we get, but the causes of the suffering. And the subtle cause is avidya, or ignorance, giving rise to material desires, giving rise to actions, which gives rise to results. Of course, even pap bija could also refer to punya bija also. So pap and punya are also considered bad. Even punya is considered bad because it gives you reactions and binds you to the material world. Yeah. So, therefore, this avidya gives rise to the concept of I am this material body and I want to enjoy, etc. And we get I want this, I hate this, I like this, I fear this, I want to destroy this, I want to create this, etc. All sorts of desires come out. We do actions, then we get karma. Okay, like that. So that when we get to the action, then the action may take some time to give us results. So generally we talk about karma, it means I do an action now, I don't get the result now. Of course I do get results, we don't call the results in this life karma. The result will come in next life, the real result, or next life, or next life. So, we get in a certain position or whatever, we get some experience of pain, if somebody hits us or something like that, then we hit the person back, that's our action. And then, in another body, we will get the reaction. Somebody will inflict pain on us. So it may take some time in another body to do this. So the time between doing the act and getting the result may be a long time. It may be 20 births, 50 births, a long time. So it's just like bhakti is growing like a plant. So your karmas are growing like little plants also, and gradually they're getting bigger and bigger. So finally they manifest as pain in your material body at this point. Others are going to be stored and they'll mature next life, etc. So there's a series of stages: aparabdha, kuta, bija, and prabdha. Prabdha is experiencing it now. That's my prabdha karma. The future of this lifetime, next year, also get karmas, but I'm not experiencing them now. So these are the bija. They're almost ready, and in next year, they will start to become prabdha in a few years. So that's the bija. The aparabdha and the kuta will not manifest in this lifetime at all. So the kutas will manifest maybe next lifetime or whatever, the aparabdha many lifetimes later. So that's the subtlest influence. We don't know they exist even. They're there, but we don't know they exist. The kutas, slightly maybe, giving effect in this lifetime, but not manifested until next lifetime. The bijas of this lifetime, but future, and the prabdha now. So in other words, it takes some time for the karma to manifest once it's started, until finally we get the result. So these are mentioned, the aparabdha, kuta, bija, prabdha. So bhakti destroys all of those. It may take some time. And we do bhakti, bhajana kriya, etc. But by end of asakti and bhava stage, they should all be gone. Karma should be gone by that time. So in a sense, kleshagni. But not only it'll destroy the reactions, bhakti will destroy the bija, the desires. More than that, it will destroy the ignorance, which is the cause of all that. That was over here. Yeah. So it destroys the avidya, bij, and the papa with all its results. All that is destroyed by bhakti. We can say that, well, of course, karma does not make any attempt to say it destroys things. It modifies by doing prayaschitas, atonements. We can modify our bad karmas and we get good karmas. But still we get karmas. And if you get all good karmas or very good karmas and very little bad karmas, you go to Svargaloka or Brahmaloka. But you still have karma. So karma yoga does not destroy anything. It just gives a better balance of good karmas or punyas over bad karmas. That's all it does. It doesn't destroy it. Jnana and yoga ultimately destroy karmas, because without destroying the karmas, we don't get liberation. So they give liberation, but after a long time. And not only that, in order to destroy, how they destroy all the karmas, etc., they do not destroy the prabdhas. So Jnana never claims to destroy your prabdha karmas. So whatever you're born with, you have to suffer your life, and Jnana is not going to interfere with that. So if you're born as a Sudra, you remain a Sudra this life, and you can't do anything about it. So whatever you're born with, you have to keep that in your life. Bhakti doesn't say that. So if you're born a Sudra, you do bhakti, you destroy your karma. You're no longer a Sudra. But a Sudra has to remain a Sudra according to Jnana, and you cannot destroy that karma at all. So this is the unique quality of bhakti. It destroys even prabdha karmas. And that's why in Bhagavatam it said that a person who chants the name of the Lord purely once, even if he's a dog eater, suddenly he's better than a brahmana. What happened? He destroyed all of his prabdha karma of being a chandala or whatever, and he's better than a brahmana, and he can do the sacrifices, etc. How is that? Because prabdha karma got destroyed. But Jnana and yoga will not say that. You leave your karmas there. So that's a unique quality. Okay. So the second quality is called subha da, bestowing subha, auspicious things, nice things. What it means is good qualities ultimately. So this is analyzed in different ways. One is affection for all living entities. So by doing bhakti, we become compassionate for all living entities. We give respect to all living entities. Jagat Prinan. A second definition is attractive to all living entities. All living entities become attractive to the devotee doing bhakti. We see that Lord Chaitanya was in the forest and all the animals became attracted to him. So we become attractive to the world. Or in a more general way, developing all good qualities. Now these qualities are not material qualities. We should not think through bhakti we develop sattvic qualities. And it's very clearly mentioned in the section on sadhana that developing good qualities is not an anga of bhakti. We're trying to develop devotion to the Lord, that's all. But good qualities develop. But what are these good qualities? They are not material good qualities, obviously, because that would bind us to the world. These are spiritual qualities. So we develop spiritual qualities like Krishna's qualities. So great devotees have good qualities. Those qualities also are not material. They're spiritual qualities. They don't cause bondage. Material qualities, good qualities, are sattvic. They cause bondage. So they're different. So we develop nice spiritual qualities. So these two processes, that is destroying the karmas and desires, etc., and developing good qualities, begin to manifest in sadhana bhakti. And they go through bhav bhakti, more development, and prem bhakti, they manifest 100%. Gradually, but they start in sadhana bhakti. A fourth definition is that of subha is happiness. So bhakti gives happiness. In the material world, we get material happiness, sense enjoyment. We get happiness in liberation, freedom from karma, freedom from body, etc. Liberation is mukti. Bhakti is beyond that. It doesn't give material enjoyment, doesn't give liberation, but we do get some other happiness. If we get bhava and prema, it is called ananda. When we're doing sadhana, we don't call it ananda, but nevertheless, it is some bhakti sukha. It is distinct from material happiness. So that with sadhana, we get bhakti sukha. In bhava, it becomes ananda. In prema, it becomes sandrananda, condensed bliss. So this is the subhada. So in sadhana, we get some spiritual happiness, but we don't call it bliss at that stage. So these two things manifest, the kleshagni subhada, in sadhana itself. They begin to manifest, not completely, but they begin to manifest. If we get to bhava stage, the subhada, of course, means development of spiritual qualities. How is this distinct from jnana? In jnana, you don't want to develop qualities. You want to destroy qualities. And then you get liberation. No qualities. No bad qualities. No spiritual qualities. Nothing. So they don't want qualities, so they don't get them. So this development of spiritual qualities is something unique to bhakti. If we do karma yoga, we get good material qualities only. That's all. So if you come to bhav bhakti, next stage, which means that sthayi bhava manifests and the internal bhav bhakti manifests, then we get two more qualities manifesting, moksha laguta kriti, which means regarding liberation as insignificant, as useless, rejected completely. So this, of course, is very distinct because in jnana, the goal is liberation. In yoga, it is liberation. It's not rejected, it is treasured. They want liberation. So, but in bhakti, you kick it away. So this is a very unique quality of bhakti. So, when we go through asakti, then our karmas are gone by the end of asakti. And in bhav bhakti, even ahankara is destroyed. So we get the root of our material existence, avidya destroyed there. So automatically liberation is achieved in one sense at that point. But the devotee doesn't want liberation. It doesn't, they want to go beyond that. So this is a unique quality of bhakti. They completely reject liberation as being useless because the joy of liberation is like nothing compared to the ananda in bhava, in having a relationship with Krishna. The bliss is insignificant. So it's an experience of relationship with Krishna, and that is enough to make liberation useless. So the second quality to appear in bhava is sudurlabha, which means very, very difficult to attain or impossible to attain. In other words, very rare. It's rare. What it means is to realize Krishna even slightly in bhava is impossible by following karma, jnana, or yoga. You cannot realize Krishna at all, or any form of the Lord. In that sense, sudurlabha. Of course, we do know if you follow the process of sadhana, uttama bhakti and sadhana, you can attain bhava. In that sense, not rare. But it is rare for everyone who's not doing bhakti. You cannot attain bhava stage. And even if you do bhakti, you have to go through the different stages. So it may take some time. We have to get through, nishta, ruchi, asakti, and then we get to bhava. So, in that sense, even for doing devotion, sadhana would be common and bhava would be rare. So, prema is the third stage, which is like condensed bhava. We get condensed bliss. We get intense possessiveness of the Lord. In the definition of prema, it is said that bhava is like one ray of the sun of prema. So even when we get a bliss in bhava, it is like nothing compared to prema. So that's the intensity of prema. So one quality is sandrananda visheshatma, condensed bliss. There is bliss in bhava because we get some rasa. In prema, it becomes condensed bliss, intense bliss, such that everything else in the world, including liberation, is like completely useless. It is useless in bhava, it becomes more useless in prema. Sandrananda. So I want to compare it. Brahman, you get a little bit of something there, because you're peaceful, and there's no karmas, and no suffering, no material bodies. But if you get bhava, the second little one, it's completely different. And it's much preferred, we reject it. But if we get prema, which is the big one there, then it is inconceivable. And the liberation becomes completely meaningless. So the sixth quality is Krishna akarshani, attracts even Krishna, attracts the Supreme Lord. So, of course, all types of bhakti are pleasing to Krishna. Krishna says, even if you have material desires, you surrender unto me, I like that. If you want money, you're trying to get rid of your suffering, you're also a devotee. But then, of course, he says the one who's the best is the one who's doing pure bhakti. And in pure bhakti, of course, sadhakas are good, those in bhava are better, and those in prema mostly control Krishna. They control Krishna the most in prema. So this is the quality in prema, attracts Krishna. He becomes controlled by the devotees. So this is, of course, this is unique to bhakti. The Gyanis and yogis can't even see Krishna, what to speak of control Krishna. So the very unique qualities here. The bliss is much greater than that of liberation, and one can not only see Krishna, Krishna becomes controlled by the devotee in prema. So that's not available in any other process, and not available even in bhakti except in prema. So these are the 6 qualities which distinguish bhakti from other processes. And they go in stages. The first 2 qualities during sadhana, second 2 qualities during bhava, third 2 qualities in prema. So then in prema we got all 6 qualities manifested fully. And in sadhana, 2 qualities, in bhava the same 2 more, plus 2 extra qualities, And then in prema, all of them manifested in full. So that's the how prema is very, very special. At the end of this first section, then Rupa Goswami says that the qualification for understanding bhakti, and of course the whole of the work, the nectar of devotion, is ruchi, not tarka, not logic. Taste, not logic. So if we have a little taste for the topic of bhakti, you can understand nectar of devotion. But if we try to understand bhakti by dry logic, it's useless because logic is insubstantial. As I said, anavasta. A person more skillful at logic can bring about a conclusion different from what was carefully proven previously by another skillful logician. We can be very skillful, we give one conclusion. Another skillful person, more skillful, will give a different conclusion. Later on, another person will give another conclusion because he's more skillful at logic. This is material world, so it's insubstantial. But at the same time, we don't reject logic. We use logic along with bhakti, and then we can understand the scriptures nicely. So we don't reject it, but we put logic, intelligence, all of that in its proper place, along with the devotion. Okay, that's it. Question?
Hare Krishna. You talked about how it's the devotee's mood to please Krishna is the Uttama Bhakti. But in Bhagavad Gita,
Without other desires.
without other desires. Now, like we see that like in the Papa to Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam, Prabhupada is saying, you have to offer what Krishna wants you to offer to him, and not like, like somebody may not have a Vedic knowledge or anything, and like they go and offer it a meat. I mean, then like in a way they are contradicting the Shastra, but their aim is to please Krishna. So, like it seems to be that, the Uttama Bhakti can contradict Shastra. Is that correct to say that? Okay?
Oh, well, when we talk about this Uttama Bhakti, okay, what is favorable anukulya, then we have some other principles involved. So like in surrender, we have, for surrender, nikshapa, what is it, humility and all that. But the first one is, do what is favorable, reject what is unfavorable. So then what is favorable for Krishna? What does Krishna like? So then we have to have some knowledge. Anukulana Krishna Anusilanam, do favorable service for Krishna. But then we would have to know what Krishna likes. Now, of course, I said intention is there, that our intention is to please Krishna. So, of course, if one is in ignorance, one may offer something that, as against Shastra or whatever, we have the intention of pleasing Krishna. Still, it's not a big offense if we have that devotion. And we see that the Sabaras in Jagannath, they were worshipping in the forest, and they didn't worship elaborately. They just offered the roots and fruits of the forest to the Supreme Lord, but he liked it. They're very, very simple, but he didn't. Even they were pig herds, and they were eating pork probably because they're pig herds. But that's offensive in one sense, if you want to follow strict deity worship, you have to be pure, you can't eat meat or whatever. But he accepted it because they were doing the devotion. So in that sense, yeah, to some degree the rules and what are restricted. At the same time, if we have knowledge, it's better, and we know what Krishna accepts and what he doesn't accept. This is especially true of deity worship, which is pancharatric. So there are rules for that. But we know in Kali Yuga, process is Nam Sankirtan. No rules. So even if you are impure or whatever, even if you're ignorant, you chant, you get some good effect.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. That verse was saying Jnana Karma Vinadritam. That says Jnana and Karma can be there, but they should not be obstructing.
Yeah.
They can be there. But on the other side, another slide was saying Bhakti plus Jnana, that will lead to Shanta Rasam.
Yeah, if there's some impurity there. If there's no obstruction there, then of course, no problem at all. So you can do bhakti without anything, fine, you can get to prema, pure bhakti, no other desire. You can do bhakti with no other desire, with the angas of karma yoga, with no desire, and you can also get prema. But if you have those little desires there for some enjoyment in the material world, then you get salokya, sarcha, etc. Huh? So we have examples, great kings who were like Ambarish. He was following the duties of a king, which is karma yoga, but he had no attachment. He didn't want to go to Svargaloka by that at all. Huh? It's just a duty he was doing, and he was practicing pure bhakti. So there was not an obstacle for him, for prema at all. Dhruva, same with Dhruva. In the Bhagavatam, so many examples of great kings. They're doing karma yoga. Associates of Lord Chaitanya. They didn't renounce everything, so they followed household life. And what did they do? They followed the rules for Grihastha ashram and Varnashram system, karma yoga. But they didn't use that to try to get material, elevation, go to Svargaloka. They just did it as support for the material body, and they just went on with their pure bhakti with not mixing any material desires in it.
Thank you, Maharaj, for such a nice class. Dandavat pranams. Maharaj, you were speaking about material good qualities and spiritual good qualities. So just wanted to understand a bit better material good qualities. For example, like this humility, being soft-spoken, do those come under material good qualities, or are they?
Well, they're overlapping, because you can have material humility and we can have spiritual humility, and they may look the same. Huh? We have material compassion and spiritual compassion. They may look the same, but the source is ultimately different. Huh? The source of material qualities is sattva gun. You become situated in sattva, then you have all these nice qualities, whatever, like the Brahmanical qualities. Huh? That's all sattvic, huh? but material, and it's binding also. Krishna has all good qualities, and he also has mercy, and he has humility, etc. But obviously, they're not binding. It's not sattva at all. Spiritual qualities. It looks similar, but it's actually spiritual. So the devotees, by worshiping Krishna, associated with Krishna, develop spiritual qualities like Krishna. It's all related to serving Krishna.
Thank you. Just to follow up on that, so some speakers, they sort of say that having material good qualities is a prerequisite for performing bhakti.
Nope. Because even the Chandala, no good qualities, not even in the Varnashram system. Tamagun, chants the holy name once, he's better than a Brahmana. No qualification at all. So if you don't have any material qualification, you're qualified for bhakti, and especially for chanting the holy name. And you can surpass all the gunas through that. So it doesn't depend on you going to sattva gun and then whatever. That doesn't mean that sattva gun qualities are a disturbance. No, and generally favorable. Also favorable thing, but they're also binding. So we have many brahmanas who are in sattva, but then they're attached to that, and therefore they don't become devotees. They're attached to being a brahmana, attached to those qualities. So they won't become devotees. Huh? One other problem in sattva is that when you get to sattva, then tendency is to understand Atma. And out of that, jnana develops. So jnana and yoga are offshoots of sattva gun. So then the brahmanas would get attracted to jnana and yoga rather than bhakti. So they go in the opposite direction. They go to liberation instead of prema. So it can be, the effects of sattva can also be negative. So we see many people interested in yoga nowadays in the Western world. Yoga, but what do? More impersonal. They get into the impersonal aspect more.
Thank you for a beautiful lesson. I just wanted to know, how do we understand that we are in which mode? Like you talked about rasa and bhakti and stages. There are a few related questions, like how do we know where we are in life at the moment, and also if you experience all what you mentioned about prema, you experience that. So and without spiritual knowledge, without much of Vedic knowledge, like, does it mean that you can get prema without Vedic knowledge? Does it work, or is it just a...
Oh, well, it depends on what you mean by Vedic knowledge. If it's knowledge of the Vedas and Upanishads, not really necessary. But we do need some basic knowledge, which we'll find in the Bhagavad Gita or in the introduction to Bhagavad Gita, which defines jivas, God, Bhagavan has the form, Brahman is the impersonal aspect, we have higher than that, we have Paramatma, higher than that, Bhagavan. Process is Bhakti, and Bhakti we should have no material desires, are described here. So we have some basic knowledge like that. We don't have to memorize the Rig Veda or anything like that, or all the Upanishads, not necessary. So we have that knowledge, and then we practice Bhakti, worshiping Krishna, and chanting his name. So it's a much simpler process, then doesn't require high qualification. So that's how we begin the process, and through that you can get prema.
But can you experience, so you were saying we can experience prema without high spiritual, high Vedic knowledge, that because there are rules how to pray to deity, and there are certain rules what to do, how to do, which day. If you're not following, can you still experience?
Yeah, so there are different types of bhakti. And the rigorous type of bhakti we'll say is deity worship, which has a lot of rules. Of course, our rules are nothing compared to the rules in other sampradayas, even for deity worship, but we have more rules. But if you're not doing deity worship, there's less rules. And if you simply concentrate on chanting the name of Krishna, Hare Krishna, then almost nil rules, except avoiding the offenses. So, depending on the process we choose in bhakti, there may be some rules, but it's actually minimum compared to doing anything in karma or jnana or yoga.
And Maharaji, how do we find out where we are in life at the moment?
Well, first, where we are in life, if we start the process of bhakti, then that's most auspicious. And we're much superior to any other person in the material world. So we're above everything. And in bhakti, if we start, then we go through these processes of sadhana, bhava, prema. And in sadhana itself, we have different stages. So we have a narchanda vritti, nishta ruchi, and a sakti, different stages there. So we go through these stages gradually as we practice the bhakti.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for a beautiful class. In one of the slides you mentioned that sadhana, bhava and prema, they all come under pure bhakti. Now at the sadhana stage, a devotee has anarthas and impurities.
Yep.
So how do we understand that it's under the pure bhakti?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's under pure bhakti if you follow this definition. You're doing your bhakti, you're chanting Hare Krishna, and you're not saying Hare Krishna, give me a television set, give me a car, like that, give me liberation, get rid of my sickness, if you're, through chanting. You may want to get rid of your suffering, etc., no problem, but you're not using bhakti to fulfill your material purposes. That's all. So that's the pure bhakti. So literally, of course, it's not pure, because we still have anartha, we still have desires, and we don't get rid of them until bhava and prema. So actually the only pure bhakta is in prema. But if you don't follow this process of anya, ablasha, sunya, etc., you can't even get to prema. So we have all our desires, but we're not sticking those into our performance of bhakti and chanting Hare Krishna. So that in that sense is pure. And that will lead to the absolute pure bhakti later on.
In one of the slides, you were talking about the Sarupya, Salakya, and it is mixed with Karma Nishna Bhakti and Jnana Nishna Bhakti. So, when somebody gets that liberation, doesn't that have any kind of rasa at all? Or?
No. If we get liberation, there is no distinction of self from anything else. Rasa depends on distinction of self from Krishna, or any form of the Lord. There's two, not one. So you need two people to have rasa. You can't have a relationship with yourself. You need another person. That creates the rasa. In Brahman, there is no other person. It's all one. So there's no rasa. There's no quality. There's no ananda, in one sense.
But in Sarupya, don't they go to Vaikuntha Loka to get the same form as Lord Vishnu?
Yeah, so that's of course not Sayuja, liberation, I'm talking about that. If we're talking about the other ones, Salokya, Sarsi, that's also called liberation, but that's superior, and the Jnani cannot get that, and the Yogi cannot get that. But you can get it by the mixed bhakti, karma misra bhakti. So when you go there, of course, you don't have any more material desires, because you can't go, to the spiritual world with that. So you get a spiritual body, whatever, like that. But your bhakti is a little weaker. But you did have the desire to get some enjoyment, whatever. So you get the nice enjoyment there. You get a nice spiritual body, a nice spiritual place, and nice powers and whatever. And you have some relationship with the Lord sort of the week, and you meditate on the Lord, but you don't really get into active service of the Lord. So that distinguishes it from, real rasa. You get a little weak shanta something or other, shanta rati or something, but you don't get dasya and trying to serve the Lord, whatever. Because of the weakness of the bhakti due to the mixture.
Excuse me, Maharaj. Hare Krishna. When one has, when the devotee goes to those four kinds of liberation, except the Sayuja, is he stuck there, or can he be elevated to the ultimate liberation, which is Goloka?
Well, if one goes to the spiritual world, which is also ultimately the mercy of the Lord, one is satisfied with that attainment, because this is what we strove for. So we're satisfied with it. So if we strive for that kind of mixed enjoyment in the spiritual world, we're very satisfied. We don't aspire for anything else. So in the spiritual world, everything is very stable, and people don't keep switching around. But that stability is established by our dedication to our sadhana. So if we practice sadhana to Vishnu, we go to Vishnu, and we're fixed in Vishnu. We don't after say, well, I think somebody else is better than Vishnu afterwards. We stuck in that devotion to Vishnu, and it becomes eternal. So for all those in the spiritual world, they have those permanent relationships, and they don't move around.
So just to follow up on the question asked by Romataji, so the person has made a decision to serve Vishnu after knowing that there is something like pure devotional service. So they knew all the processes that existed, but still they sort of decided that, okay, I'm going to strive for Vishnu, and I'm striving for this.
Yeah, of course, it's all pure, it can be pure bhakti anyway. Krishna Sila means bhakti to Vishnu and Nrsimha, everybody. So if you want to worship Vishnu or Nrsimha or Rama, and you strive in that direction, you realize that form eternally. And you become perfect, and you're completely satisfied and blissful in that relationship in the spiritual world. Yeah? So it depends on your particular sadhana. Which is natural, because if you dedicate your life to Ramchandra and you're worshiping him for life after life, and suddenly go to the spiritual world and you end up with Krishna, you say, what happened? Where's Rama? Show me Rama instead. So Krishna fulfills your desire, and he gives you something, and you're eternally satisfied with that.
As it was discussed about sadhana, bhava, and prema bhakti, where does ragatmika bhakti fit into?
Oh, that's in prema. So in describing raganuga bhakti, raganuga means following after raga. So it means actually following after ragatmaka bhaktas, which means following after the residents of Vrindavan in the spiritual world. So those are the ragatmakas, such as the gopis, and Radha, and Lalita, and Yasoda, and Nanda, and the cowherd boy. So they are ragatmaka bhaktas. So there, the word raga means having a very strong relationship with the Lord, such that we don't see him as the Lord. So it's a very spontaneous type of relationship with no interference of reverence. That is what raga is. And it's only there in Vrindavan. It's not there in Dwarka, not there in Mathura. They have a mixture there, so it's not raga. So ragatmaka refers to those who are completely into that type of love. So those are the eternal associates in Vrindavan. So they are ragatmakas.
For this again, coming back to the same sadhana bhakti and bhava bhakti and prema bhakti. In sadhana bhakti, when we get started in Krishna consciousness, through the mercy of the Supreme Lord and the mercy of Maharajas and the Siksha Gurus, we get into the sadhana bhakti. Even though it is kind of at the beginning stage, we are not involved into it. We are just keep on doing it for 16,000. At some point in time, even though we have got a lot of material desires, at least for one Hare Krishna Mahamantram, we will think of the Lord out of all the 16 rounds. So in that, if we consider that one single Mahamantram is considered to be with pure love, when we see Guru Maharaj where there is no daily worship, or when we see a different Ajamil who was calling Narayana at the last one moment where there is no daily worship, but still they were getting liberated or they were getting the darshan of the Lord. So my question is like just with sadhana bhakti and with little of Vedic knowledge, if we continue the sadhana bhakti, can we go up to the prema bhakti level, or should there be a deity worship as a compulsory for us to?
Deity worship.
Like, should we go ahead and involve deity worship in our sadhana?
Okay, yeah.
To get that bhava prema mode?
So one can proceed sadhana bhava prema through any anga of bhakti. So we have 64 angas of bhakti. So we technically could do any of them. Usually it's a combination. And in Nectar Devotion, Rupa Goswami says 5 are very strong, Shravanam process. And just by hearing, you can get perfection. The case is Parikshit Maharaj, he gives example. Kirtan, he gives example. Sukadeva Goswami, who spoke Bhagavatam, Kirtan, got perfection that way. Then we have remembrance. So one can remember the Lord. Who remembers the Lord? Prahlad is famous for remembering the Lord. Deity worship, he gives, I think, Prithu Maharaj, like that. And of course, living in the holy dham is there also. So any of these processes can give us perfection up to prema. However, in Lord Chaitanya's movement, the primary process is Nam Sankirtan. So that can give us prema. We don't have to do the other processes so much. Of course, usually we combine this. We don't have to do deity worship or whatever like that. We see Lord Chaitanya himself really didn't do deity worship. He just did kirtan. Of course, he went to Jagannath temple, but he didn't really participate in the worship. So kirtan itself leads you to the highest prema.
One more question regarding karma. So when after going through a lot of understanding, my knowledge of karma is because we have passed whatever we have done, it is coming through, and because we are depending on the Lord, whatever karma we have to get, it's getting subsidized or it is getting minimalized. That's what is the understanding. But how do we take it when the karma comes on devotees who is completely involved into this, completely, for example, Guru Maharaj has completely dedicated his life, everything, life, soul, heart, soul, everything into for Krishna.
Yeah.
Then why is this karma coming back and back? Or is it karma, or is it what do we understand as?
So it may be karma, it may not be karma, we don't know. Bhakti destroys karma, definitely, but it may not be evident. So Ajamil destroyed all of his karmas when he named his son Narayana. But he was not aware, and nobody was aware that all the karmas were destroyed. Even Yamadutas weren't aware. They tried to punish him, but there were no karmas. So he looked evil, he looked wicked, he was, addicted to sense enjoyment up to his death. But he had no karmas. So Bhakti destroys karmas, but we may not be aware of what's happening, and it may look like there's karmas, etc. So we can't really tell. In some cases, of course, karmas will continue. If we've done aparads, then karmas get destroyed slower. So there'll still be some karmas, or maybe slightly reduced, but still we're going to get some karmas. It could be aparads of this life or previous lifetimes, we don't know. So in that sense, there could still be, remnants of karma. In some cases, there may be no karmas, but there just may be some arrangement of the Lord or whatever that looks like karma, but it actually isn't. We don't know.
There's a question here. You mentioned that if bhakti is mixed with karma, devotees get a nice place in the spiritual world. will they still see the Lord in there, or staying far away from the Lord? Do they stay there eternally, or come back to material world to complete their bhakti and get bhakti?
No, if they go to the spiritual world, they stay there, and they can meet the Lord, whatever, but their relationship is somewhat weak. So they're not always striving to serve the Lord directly or anything like that. So I think in the Bhakti Sandarbha, Jiva Goswami says they largely get their bliss from meditating on the Lord rather than directly serving Him. So they have a relationship, but it's a little bit distant.
When you were talking about the 6 qualities of bhakti, you said only bhakti can destroy prarabdha karma. Jnana and karma cannot destroy prarabdha karma. So then that looks like anybody who's not a devotee, then the system of birth system looks to be valid. Is that a right understanding? Because birth is a result of your karma. So then, the traditional brahmanas, then their idea that, you are belonging to a particular varna based on birth seems to have a validity for anybody who's not a devotee. Is that a valid argument?
To some degree. Of course, we also say that your varna is determined by your qualities. So you're born in a Brahmin family, but you have Rajasic qualities, and your karma would be you're actually Rajasic, not Brahminical or whatever like that. So you're stuck with that, and generally people don't change too much throughout their life. They don't really change. They get stuck in one particular mode. Now, it is possible for anybody to change, but it requires effort, it requires practice, etc. So if you do follow even the Varnashram system, you can gradually raise yourself in the gunas also. That's the whole purpose, to go from tamagun to sattvagun eventually, but it takes many births to do that, that's all. So that's the process of karma, gradual. And the jnana and yoga are only available for people in sattvagun. So you have to do karma yoga until you get to sattva, then you have a choice of jnana or yoga. So bhakti is the alternative, and you can do it in any case, tamagun, rajagun, sattvagun, so it makes it much easier for people. And that way you surpass all the gunas. Okay. Hare Krishna.
Holiness Bhanu Swami Maharaj ki